In this video, I will be demonstrating a very simple technique for UV unwrapping a fish. Simple, yet very effective. I will also be demonstrating a more advanced technique. Notice that I've used an image plane to model my fish. I'm going to be using the very same image as my texture. Going to my UV texture editor, you will notice that my UVs have not been worked with yet. Going to my hypershade, I will make a new material. And in the color channel, I will apply the image that I used as my image plane as the texture. I will now apply the material to my mesh, and pressing 6 we can see the results. It should be quite evident that this fish needs to be UV unwrapped. Notice that we can turn on and off the image in the UV editor as well as dim the image. Dimming the image can make it considerably easier working with your UVs. Switching to my side viewport, I am going to do a camera-based projection. Selecting the mesh, I go to the UV editor, and under Create, I click on Camera-based. Now, either by selecting all of my UVs or selecting the UV shell itself, I can position the UVs to fit the image. Here I'm simply using a non-uniform scale. Minor adjustments can be made, either to the entire UV shell or to the individual UVs. And as you can see, I very quickly and very easily got a reasonably UV unwrapped and textured fish. Depending on the needs of your project, this approach could be perfectly fine. But now let's take a look at a more advanced approach. I'm going to create another material that is going to use a different texture. Because this texture has both the right and left sides of the fish, there will be no overlapping UVs. I will apply the material to my fish and then begin the more advanced UV unwrapping by opening up my UV editor. Notice that you can turn on and off the image as well as dim the image. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to cut my seams. First thing I want to do is cut the seam right down the middle of the fish. By going to cut and sew, I cut. You can turn on your texture borders to more easily see them. And now that I have cut the seams, I have two UV shells. The left and the right side of the fish are separate now. I'm turning on symmetry now so that I can select edges on one fin and it'll select the corresponding edges on the other side of the fish. I will be cutting those edges as well. Notice that the edges become bold after I've cut them. And so that I can unfold the fins, I'm going to cut an edge along the one side, on the back side of the fins. Now that I've cut all my edges, I'm going to select the UVs of the entire mesh and I am going to unfold. Some of my UV shells are on top of one another, so by clicking the Layout button, that will arrange them so that there are no overlapping UV shells. And here you'll see that I run into a little bit of a problem. I'm trying to select one of my UV shells, and yet it's selecting two UV shells. Remember to turn off symmetry. So I turn off symmetry, and now I can select my individual shells and place them in the appropriate space on my texture. By selecting the UV shell in the UV editor, I can see where that part of the mesh is on my model in the perspective viewport. I'm placing my various UV shells on the appropriate texture space, in this case on the various fins of the fish. And now I will start making my fine-tune adjustments. Remember that you can work with UV shells, and you can also work with the individual UVs themselves. You can make minor adjustments to individual UVs. What I'm going to do here is turn on soft select so that I can select individual UVs but make bigger changes to the UV layout. Again, I'm still just working with making fine-tune adjustments to fit my UVs better to my texture. Soft Select really is a wonderful tool for making these adjustments to your UVs. One part that I found needed special attention is the area around the eye. A few minor adjustments to the UVs and the eye will be looking a lot better. And so there you have it. Two approaches. One very simple approach and one a little more advanced approach to UV unwrapping a fish. If you're interested in seeing how I modeled the fish, I will be posting a video of that as well. Thank you for watching.